Hey everyone, welcome back to Bytes and Barriers. My name is Ben, and today we are doing part 2 of the highlighted overview of cybersecurity. Now, before we move on, I'd like to apologize. I meant to have this episode out several weeks ago. Unfortunately, I got sick, I lost my voice, and it just pushed everything off. So, obviously I have my voice back, so I'm making the magic happen. Now, in today's episode, we are going to be covering understanding and combating threats and strategies and best practices. Now, this is a loaded topic, so I'm going to set somewhat of a fast pace, just so we can really get through it and not hit any like lull moments where people are like, oh my goodness, I just want this episode to end type, mentality. So with that being said, let's jump right in. Okay, let's jump right into understanding and combating threats. Now, we're going to be talking about malware, phishing, ransomware, and lastly, social engineering. Now, when I go through these, we are going to be basically, I'll give you the gist of what they are, a base foundation, so you kind of have like a definition to go with the word, and just like a construct so you understand how it works, and then as well as a way to combat them. So with that being said, let's start with malware. Think of malware as digital pests that invade your computer system. These are real, everyday threats that wreak havoc, but there are practical tools and strategies to deal with them. And it's all about applying intelligence with precaution. Now, ways to combat malware. First one I'm going to list is regular updates. This is all about making sure that your software and your operating systems are fully up to date. And the reason why that's important is because, well, there could be patches in those updates for security and the overall safety of your systems. Another way to combat malware would be antivirus software. So you would want to be utilizing trusted antivirus solutions and be running frequent scans on a daily basis to make sure that nothing is slipped through the cracks, and if there is something, you're catching it early on. And the last one I'm going to list is adopting safe browsing habits. Now, the reason I say adopting safe browsing habits is because whenever you just get online, everyone gets online all the time, and they go to websites, they download stuff, and some people, the average person, doesn't quite think like, hey, if I'm on this site, it may look pretty, it may be a well put together site and has all the bells and whistles for like visualization and presentation, but it's not a verified source. Like, it's a little bit shady and you just don't realize it. So it's all about just having that adopted, safety mindset. And so if you're going to go download something from a website, you want to make sure that what you're downloading is coming from a verified source and it's not just from some random hole in the wall, type website. And some of these hole in the wall websites look really good and they look really convincing. So it's hard to decipher sometimes. And I know that might seem, overbearing or intimidating. It's kind of not. It's just about being proactive mentally and making sure that you're paying attention and you're just being very cautious about what you're just downloading. Plain and simple. Imagine someone disguising themselves as someone that you trust just to trick you. Well, that's what phishing is. It's deception on a digital level, and it poses very serious risks. However, by staying vigilant and educating yourself, you could, it will help you outwit these so-called digital imposters, and you won't fall victim to one of their schemes. Now, this is very real, and it's all about keeping your eyes wide open. Now, here are ways that you can fight phishing. First one is email scrutiny. Now, what I mean by email scrutiny is double check every single email address and double check every single link. Next way that you can fight it is multi-factor authentication. Now, with multi-factor authentication, what I'm meaning is you need to be making sure they're using one or two extra forms of verification methods. And then lastly would be education. And what I mean by education is familiarize yourself with, ongoing phishing schemes and scams. So I'm saying go online, do a little bit of research, just like a simple Google or whatever search engine you use, and look up current, phishing scams and trends, and just become more familiarized with it. And doing these 3 things goes a very long way in protecting yourself from phishing scams. Picture your data being taken hostage by criminals. Ransomware is the cyber equivalent of a ransom note, locking your data until you pay up. However, there are ways to fend off this threat. It's about safeguarding your digital life, proactively, and not giving in to some, criminal's demands. Here are a few different ways that you could fight ransomware. One is regular backups. And what I mean by that is make sure that you are regularly backing up important data and keeping it, stored in separate locations. Next way would be restricted permissions. Limit access to only the people that need the essential access. So don't just give all of your keys out to anybody in the kingdom. Like, don't give everyone a copy of the key to the front door. That doesn't do any good. It always ends badly. So you want to limit who has what permissions and to what. Lastly is email filtering. So with email filtering, what I'm meaning is use advanced filters that would block suspicious attachments and links. All right, let's move on to social engineering. This is the art of manipulating people into divulging sensitive information. This challenge is human-centric, so your defense should be too. It's about staying wise and vigilant. Now, here are ways to fend off social engineering. First way is, education. Train yourself and your team on recognizing manipulation techniques. Next is limited information. Do not share personal or corporate information. Draw a hard line in the sand. Do not be sharing that information. Lastly is verification. Always verify an identity, through multiple channels if you can, before giving out sensitive information. Now that we are done with understanding and combating threats, we are going to go ahead and venture into strategies and best practices. In this, we will be covering risk management, incident response, security policies and trainings, regular updates and monitoring, and lastly, disaster recovery plans. So with that being said, let's jump right in. Risk management is the eyes on the horizon, scanning for potential threats before they can even happen. The approach is proactive. So you're assessing for vulnerabilities and then addressing them with precision. And, it's not about, just knowing where the risks lie, but having a series of actions to nullify them. So imagine a seasoned general. He has to know the terrain, he has to anticipate enemy moves, and then he has to also be ready to adapt for anything that would come his way. So like in the digital world, it's a constant battle of wits and foresight. And the key to this lies in continuous evaluation, learning, and adapting strategically. Imagine a skilled surgeon with a well-prepared team acting swiftly and efficiently to save a patient. Incident response is very similar to this. It's an organized approach detailing what steps to follow when a cybersecurity incident occurs. The goal is to handle the situation in a way that would limit and reduce damage, recovery time, and costs. Essentially, it's a plan for dealing with unexpected security issues to get things back to normal as quickly and securely as possible. Now, let's talk about security policies and trainings. These serve as guidelines and educational measures to ensure that employees and systems adhere to best practices in cybersecurity. They aim to protect organizational assets, data, and reputation by outlining the do's and don'ts of security. These policies and trainings are vital tools in minimizing risk and responding effectively to security incidents. This is all about making cybersecurity a reflex and not a reaction. In cybersecurity, regular updates and monitoring involves continually updating software and systems to fix vulnerabilities, along with constant surveillance to detect and respond to threats in real time. This proactive approach helps in maintaining a secure and resilient environment. Every update a strengthening, and every monitoring an assurance. So think of it as a well-oiled machine, always tuning, always refining. This is all about a commitment to excellence day in and day out. Imagine having contingency blueprints for any catastrophe. Well, that's what disaster recovery plans are. They are predefined sets of instructions or procedures to recover and protect a business IT infrastructure in the event of a disaster. These plans aim to minimize downtime, data loss, and operational impact, thus allowing an organization to restore its systems to full functionality as quickly and as safely as possible after a catastrophic event. And that wraps up part 2 of a highlighted overview of cybersecurity. Now, I hope it was informative. I hope I gave you, if you didn't know anything about this stuff before, I hope I gave you like a base foundation to kind of have. So now going forward, you can build upon it and have a good place to start. But going forward, I'm really excited about the next few episodes that are going to come out. I'm not going to say what they are yet because I'm hoping that the podcast episode happens first, because that's the one I'm really like planning on, where I get to have a talk with someone who is very invested in the cybersecurity and they are in the field, and being able to pick their brain about stuff and ask them some particular questions to really bring that information to light and be able to share with all of you. So I'm really excited about that one. So I hope that happens first before I do other show type episodes like this. Anyways, thanks for watching Bytes and Barriers, and I'll see you guys later.